Congratulations, you've chosen the spoiler-free version. What's up? I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is my review of Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie's currently in theaters, and it has audio description done by Deluxe, narrated by Jedediah Barton. So, this is the spoiler-free version. It's going to be a lot shorter because I don't want to talk about anything that you feel like is going to be a spoiler. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the audio description, and then I'm going to tap out. If you want to watch the longer video, which will be the spoiler talk, it gives me the ability to talk about everything else. I am wearing a purple hat backwards. I have black sunglasses on, and I have a Green Lantern shirt on today, by the way. Yes, it's intentional, and I think it's hilarious. I actually do own a Deadpool shirt, a Wolverine shirt, and an X-Men shirt. But I also remembered that I own a Green Lantern shirt, and I just thought, I don't think Ryan Reynolds is ever going to watch one of my videos, but if he ever does, he might find it hilarious that I'm wearing a Green Lantern shirt for this review. So I went with it. This movie's directed by Sean Levy, who previously directed Ryan Reynolds in The Adam Project and Free Guy. He's also known for Cheaper by the Dozen and the Night Museum franchise. And I was a little concerned going into it, to be honest, about Levy directing this film and not somebody like David Leitch. This is the best thing that Sean Levy's, I think, has ever directed. I like, that's a hot take. It's not that I think he's a bad director, but he always seems to be like brushing with it. Like he just can't. It's like the guy that makes the puzzle piece, like the puzzle, and he's got like two pieces, and like everybody else can see like that puzzle piece goes there, that puzzle piece goes there, but then the guy's just like, I can't figure out how to make these last two pieces fit. And you're like, give them to me. I can make them fit. Sean's like, no, I don't. You know what? It's just gonna be missing two pieces. Or he like awkwardly puts them in like the wrong place and just leaves them there, and you're like, dude, that's not right. And you're like, can I fix it? No, it's fine, it's perfect. He's like, he always feels like he's just shy of perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't quite get it. This is the closest to perfect he's been in terms of his direction and style. So talking about the film, what can I talk about that is not a spoiler? Well, I can confirm that Deadpool is in the film, played by Ryan Reynolds. I can confirm that Wolverine is in the film, played by Hugh Jackman. I want to confirm also, and this is only because every other critic has done a really poor job of it, that Vanessa is in the film, and so are most of the original cast in some form or another. So many other people are focusing on the plot structure to the film and not mentioning that it made me think that the original cast wasn't there, but they're not trying to hide them. Actually, when you see the film, you'll see that they're actually kind of integral to the plot, and I don't know why so many reviews don't touch on that. They're just like, well, that's not the cool shit that people came for. They came for the cameos, you know. They came for this other stuff and this convoluted plot that we're going to talk about instead. Yeah, they're there. So if you were worried, I just want to confirm that. I'm not going to tell you how much they're in or what they do or anything like that, but I do want to confirm that basically I say most of the returning cast because TJ Miller doesn't work anymore, and you can Google that. But so there's no TJ Miller in this cast. Anyway, so yeah, how do I even talk about the film after this? So in every universe, there is an anchor hero. It is a fundamentally stupid thing, but there is. Okay, so every universe, galaxies, universe has an anchor hero for their timeline, the whole timeline that started millions of years ago. And Deadpool finds out that his anchor hero has passed away. I'm doing this very carefully. And the TVA, which you do need to have, I would say, a passing knowledge of Loki, although they do a pretty good job of saying this is from Loki. Although if you want to understand more of this, I would binge watch Loki. Like if you're sitting here going, I have not seen Deadpool yet, what should I see? I would say Loki. You'll get a much bigger impact if you're just more familiar with X-Men films in general. All of them. All of them. Not maybe like New Mutants. I think that nobody brings up New Mutants here. You can skip that. Pretty much everything else, though. Yeah. So, yeah. I could specifically list films that you should have seen Logan going into this. You should have seen the previous Deadpool films. I would recommend seeing some X-Men films dating all the way back even to the first one. I would recommend that. Anything else would be too obvious of a spoiler if I said any other films. So I apologize, but those are the films. And then Loki. There are other things that would be helpful if you knew, but that's spoilerish, and I'll talk about that in another review. So Deadpool has to find a new version because now we have multiverses, which is not really a spoiler because we've done that in other films, and he talks about how stupid it is and how it's done and all that kind of stuff. But he has to do it anyway. He has to go through the multiverse and find himself a new version of his anchor hero. And the villain Paradox is not having it and sends the two of them to the Void, which was featured in Loki. And then they have to get out of the Void and get back to Deadpool's universe. That is the least spoilery I can tell you about the film. That is the plot of the film in the most basic formula I possibly can give you. So, does it work? Yes, it's funny. The action sequences are cool. I saw one critic group that I called out because they were trying to pretend like they were fans of the Deadpool franchise, but a lot of the stuff they said didn't make any sense. They said there were a lot of needle drops, and I was like, there are a lot of needle drops in the other films. So yeah, they use a lot of random pop songs to great effect here. Bye 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 is going to be stuck in your head again. It's one of the better songs. There's also Madonna has a song featured in a really specific place. It's an Avril Lavigne song, a Goo Goo Dolls song. Yeah, just a couple things like that featured throughout the movie. So it does kind of diminish the potential for sound design in terms of what's going to get nominated at the Oscars. I couldn't see this getting nominated in sound because every time that they have an action sequence, it's always set to music. So we don't really get the clinging of the claws and the bullet fire and the swords and the clashing and the kind of stuff that would get you really sort of interested. It's like, then they have to kind of do that on top of a blaring soundtrack, which is really hard to pull off. There are a ton of cameos here. Just an ungodly amount of cameos to the point where no one has ever actually talked about all of the cameos. I've seen like 15 to 20 people review this film on YouTube. There were cameos that I heard mentioned in audio description that were never mentioned in any other review. So it's like they don't have time to talk about all of the cameos. So pay attention, young ones, to the cameos. There are a lot of direct pop culture references to many of the things. Like a lot of jokes that require you to know why that's a joke. And I will explain that in the spoiler review. But the more pop culture knowledge heavy you are, the more you will enjoy this film. If you do not pay attention to pop culture, a lot of these jokes are going to fly over your head because he references a lot of things that are outside the normal purview of just being a comic book nerd. lots of other things. I enjoyed it. I think Ryan Reynolds gives a good performance. I think Hugh Jackman gives a great performance. It's even a different performance than what he gave in Logan. Like, Logan was such a great dramatic performance, but here he plays a different version of himself that he didn't get to explore before. And I feel like Hugh Jackman somehow managed to differentiate that and create like another Wolverine and explore that level of torture instead of his level of torture that he had been exploring for that many years. He actually feels like a slightly different Wolverine with a slightly different reason to be the way that he is. It's a very nuanced performance, and I was really appreciative of that. So, the rest of the cast, standouts. Matthew McFadden is here. He plays Paradox, who I mentioned. He's okay. I mean, I don't really have a thought about that. I'll give a shout out to Emma Corrin because she doesn't play anybody else who's ever been in a Marvel, so it's not really a cameo thing. I won't tell you who she's playing, but Emma Corrin comes in here and she's fine. Some people don't think she's a strong villain. I think she's a much stronger villain. She's just given sort of, in a very exposition heavy film, she's not quite given the backstory. She's just kind of told, this is what it is, and then this is who I am. You know, she could have been better developed, but I think Emma Corrin did a nice job with what she had. So anyway, as far as the audio description goes, honestly, I went to the theaters, and this is a loud film, so I often have trouble in theaters with audio description equipment, which is why I usually review films at home, but I do like to venture out every once in a while because I'm a blind film critic. I should be seeing movies also in theaters, so this is the third film I've seen in theaters this year, and when it gets too loud, I had the volume cranked all the way up on the headset, and there were times where my theater is set to deaf. It's just set to give audience hearing problems, and I couldn't. Yeah, it's not bad to the level of what I experienced last year with Oppenheimer, where I actually had like tinnitus for months because it really truly was like, if this was my eyesight days where I could still see, I wouldn't have had a problem with the level of sound. It's just the headset just does not make enough sound, and they do not give you noise canceling headsets. So I do not get that. I get shitty headsets that make some sound and are struggling to pick up the Bluetooth connection coming out of the projection booth. So where I live, my accessibility is not great, which leads to me giving sort of like a pass on heavy amounts of critiquing of the audio description script. There were little bits of it where I could hear things that I really liked. Like, they pointed out some cameos, and I really liked that, and I thought that was good. But in those sort of needle drop sequences, I had a really hard time because it was so loud. So I can't tell you how well described the fight sequences were because I couldn't hear them. So I just listened to the music and the sound effects because they were way louder than my headset could ever possibly be. I had it on max volume, and it was being, nope, nothing. Directly into my ear too, nothing. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you for showing up for the spoiler-free version. Yes, it may feel like I'm surface leveling this film. I had some concerns going into it, and most of them were addressed. I have some problems, but I can't talk about them in a spoiler-free version. So, I'm gonna give Deadpool and Wolverine an A. I think the deck that they were handed was really good. I have some qualms, but they're kind of qualms that I have to talk about specifically why I have qualms and why I'm not letting those qualms affect the grade. Because I don't know that they have anything to do with anybody who actually made the movie. You know. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And if you're interested, check out the spoiler version of this review, which will be longer. And I'll see you guys on the other side.